Okay. It looks like I've been nominated. I was hoping somebody else would take it, but I knew they wouldn't. They're a bunch of cowards. Okay, if we could have roll call, please.
Mark,
Here.
James,
Here.
Brett, Tate, Eric, Dan, George,
Here.
Barry,
Here.
Sherelle.
Here. All right, we'll move on to the minutes. If anyone would look those over, and I'd care to make a motion in regard to the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as noted.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. On to the first item, and I'll ask you to present that, if you would.
Okay, so the first item we have tonight is LU-0058-24, which is Evan Vettel with Cherry Creek Water LLC on behalf of Darren Hauge. They are requesting a conditional use permit to construct a freshwater holding pond. Subject property is within the agricultural zoning district. It's located in the east half of the northwest, Government Lot 1, which is the northwest, and Government Lot 2 being the southwest of the northwest. Section 31, Township 156 North, Range 97 West, being a Quality Township. Quality Township did say that they are undecided on this project, but feel 61st Street will need to be built to the township specifications prior to construction of the site. They are requesting the conditional use permit to construct the freshwater pond on the subject property. The pond will be approximately 4 million BBL lined earthen berm pond. The interior of the pond will be lined with a 60 mil HDPE geomembrane barrier. Pond will be surrounded by a 3-strand barbed wire fence. Purpose of this pond is to further support and aid oil well production and development in the area. The applicant has multiple surface and ground use water permits near this location that will be utilized for the pond. They will have mobile diesel pumps deployed as a primary method of pumping the water out of the pond, which will be then transferred through overland transfer tubing. Access to the pond is taken off of 61st Street Northwest.
Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll open this as a public hearing. The public hearing is now open. If anyone has any comments. Any comments? If not, I guess we'll close the hearing. Any questions from the board?
Michelle, the property that's shown in that same section, is that the owner of the land? Is that his or is it a neighbor?
Nope, it is the owner of the land. Yep.
Is there any requirement to reclaim this when they're done using it?
Yep, so for reclamation, there are state guidelines that they follow as well, and they kind of just work with the landowner to decide what will be, or how, to what extent it will be reclaimed. For this particular one, it does sound like there could be potential use for agricultural purposes if there comes a time where it's not needed for the oil and gas division.
The other questions?
So I had one more question. The township was undecided, and do we know if that was because of the stipulation to have that road built?
I believe so, but they did not. When I asked for further comment, I didn't hear back, so.
Did Mr. Vettel say how much truck traffic there's going to be there? Or?
With this one, I do not believe I did get that information. But they don't, and if it's like their other ones, it's not very much truck traffic in and out since it's going to be pumped out by the tubing and the different transfer methods. It'll just be minimal maintenance, going in, checking on it, making sure everything is running properly.
So is there thought to make it a requirement they bring that road up to standards? Most of the traffic is when they build the thing. They put one in out by me, so.
I'll make a motion to approve it with staff comments and township request to build the road up to township specs.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. So can we have a roll call vote?
Barry? Barry?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Sherrill?
Yes.
Okay, so the second item we have tonight is LU-0061-24, which is Jim Talbert with Magnus Services on behalf of BCD Farms Incorporated. They are also requesting a conditional use permit to construct a freshwater holding pond within the agricultural zoning district. This particular project is located in the southwest quarter of Section 11, Township 156 North, Range 103 West, which is in Bull Butte Township. They did specify undecided on their recommendation as well. They did have conditions that they wanted put on there of maintain road access in like or better condition. If the pit and proposed well cause more seepage and water flow, they will be liable to correct the damage to the lands and roads and proper state permits for the water well. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to construct the freshwater pond on the subject property. According to the applicant, the pond will be approximately 385,961 BBLS. It will be 512 feet by 600 feet with a depth of 15.4 and a maximum slope of 3 to 1. The pond will be lined with a 30 mil polypropylene. The purpose of this pond is for storage of fresh water to be utilized in oil well production. The water will be pumped out of the holding pond by diesel trailer-mounted pumps. The applicant is working with the landowner for the best option for security fencing to surround the site. However, he is anticipating it to be a 3-strand barbed wired fence. The applicant has an industrial groundwater permit in the area which will supply the water for the holding pond. Access to the subject property on this one is taken off of 149th Avenue Northwest.
I guess I was just wondering, the one pit is 60 mil, is that right? And this one's 30 mil? That because of soil conditions or whatever?
I'm not sure what they use to stipulate which type of or which mill that they use on different projects. I'm unsure of that.
Shelley said he had a lease for the aquifer. Now, and maybe I'm off my map. Are they taking water out of Cow Creek too up there? Did he say anything about that?
The applicant is here. He may be able to answer that better for you.
I'll open the public hearing now so we can have comments on this. And please identify yourself and
You bet. I'm Jim Talbert with Magnus Services, address 12638 32nd Street in Watford. And we have seen the recommendations of the township and agree to all of those. Mr. Barsha, I don't recall what your question was. If you would repeat that, I'd be happy to. What's that?
Sorry. Are you pulling out of Cow Creek up there too, or do you have your own aquifers?
But at this time, we are planning on filling the pond with water from the bubbler permit that we have with the state. Though it is possible that as things progress that we may be putting other water in it besides that, but they would all be permitted by the state to do so.
I was just worried. I didn't get an answer, maybe, but Cow Creek goes so far And from where you're at, Cow Creek goes a long ways. I just didn't want them guys downstream to ever run out of water
We-
for their cattle, so I just wanted to make sure.
We do have an upcoming frac that we will be pulling from Cow Creek. Just because our pond may not be finished by the time they are ready to frac. And so we have taken steps to make sure that we have adequate supply.
And you had to get a permit from the state to do that?
Yes, we did. We have a temporary water permit from the state for that water.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
You could probably just answer for yourself, but I think yours was 30 mil, was it? Lonnie?
It is a 30 mil, as that's what the engineers had specified. And so,
So, excuse me, I do have a question. When the gentleman said that they were going to pull it, maybe or probably gonna pull it from Cow Creek, what steps or what steps have they taken to make sure that they don't short their downstream neighbors? Cause there's stock, there's livestock and all that downstream. Are we making sure we're not shorting our downstream neighbors, or
can I
how
have,
do they quantify that?
can I have someone repeat that? I'm hard of hearing and I didn't catch the,
I believe that what he was asking is what steps or how do they determine on the permit that the water you pull from Cow Creek isn't going to short the downstream users?
that the state Department of Water Resources, prior to issuing any permit, not just ours, they look at existing permits that are downstream to make sure that anything that they allot does not adversely affect the downstream flow. So.
And what is the acreage feet on your permit and for Cow Creek?
What is the acreage for your permit on Cow Creek?
It's what? 398 acre feet.
Wow.
But we can only pull maximum of, is it 35 barrels a minute? Yeah. That's for the year the permit is in existence.
35 barrels a minute
Correct.
is what you said, right?
That's what the state has permitted.
Mhm.
Do we have other questions? We'll call you back if we need you. Any other comments? Any other? If not, I'll close the hearing. Board members? Comments, questions?
I guess to me, we're mixing two things. If he's got a permit to pull out of Cow Creek, it isn't anything to do with this one here.
Well, it doesn't, no, it doesn't have anything to do with this.
With the
And
pond.
we don't have any authority over the State Water Board anyway.
You're right, correct. Okay.
Does that, oh, I should have asked this before he sat down, but I was wondering if, they got a temporary permit to take out a Cow Creek. But once this is built, does that permit expire then? Because I heard him say something about a year.
Temporary state water permits are allowed for a maximum of 12 months. They can be less than that, but they do expire after 12 months, and you have to reapply for those temporary permits.
Okay, so when you're up and running with your pond, then you'll just quit taking out a Cow Creek? Unless you have to.
Yeah, we don't, but we anticipate using our bubbler source to fill the pit. But it's not to say that it will never happen that we won't put other water in there, I mean, the fracs require 70 to 80 barrels a minute going downhole, okay? And so when you have a source such as Cow Creek, maximum we can pull from there is 35 barrels a minute. And so the way you overcome that is through storage. And so that is one of the purposes. We know that once our bubbler well is going into the pit, we're only filling it at about 6 barrels a minute. And so, we have to have sufficient in there because we can't refill it mid-frac. And that's standard with across the board. That's not unique to us.
So, this is Barry again. So what you're getting at is you're gonna be using Cow Creek as the main source of water, and then your secondary water supply is gonna fill the reserve, the reservoir, right? So, but you plan on using Cow Creek as your main source of water? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah, I mean, the pit is strictly a holding pond so that we can pull out of it at an adequate quantity.
Right, yep. I'm not to talk over you, but I understand why the reservoir is there.
Okay,
But the main source of water for the reservoir is Cow Creek, not your bubbler, right?
the main water we anticipate putting in the pit is from the bubbler. The Cow Creek is, would be used on a frac because we don't have the facilities up and running in a full pit at this point. Did that answer your question?
Well, I mean, if your bubbler is gonna get you 6,000, what did you say? Your bubbler is good for, your water well is good for 6 gallon or, Cow Creek was 35 barrels a minute. Your well is only good for 6, would you say?
Yeah, that's for the frac. Again, the upcoming frac really doesn't have anything to do with this pit at this point. This is for the future so we can store it because we anticipate having more fracs in that area. Right now, we will be
Correct.
pulling from Cow Creek and for the upcoming frac, that and an existing pond. And we will also have ASTs, Sidon-type tanks to help hold the reserve that we need so we can send the proper quantity to the site.
Okay, so as I understand it, what we're dealing with here is whether they can construct a water holding pond. And their plan is to fill that pond from their well, where they have an industrial permit. They also might in the future put water in there from other sources, which they would have to get a permit from the state water board.
Correct.
To State Water Commission,
Yeah,
Water Board,
It-
whatever. they
Any
call it.
water put into the pit will come from a state-approved water
Right.
permit. Yeah,
So if people had concerns about where you were getting the water from, they would have to address those with the State Water Commission.
that is correct. That is their jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, do we have a motion? Or more questions?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve with staff comments and also note the township's comments as well.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call vote?
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Sherelle.
Yes.
Okay, so this next one we have is LU-0066-24, which is Charlie Heisted Moe, who is requesting a conditional use permit for an additional dwelling on a property that is within the rural residential zoning district. And this is located in the northwest of Section 28, Township 155, Range 102, which is Mont Township. And the township did recommend approval on this. They are requesting the conditional use permit for an additional single-family residence on their property. Subject property is approximately 39 acres and is within the rural residential zoning district, which does allow for a second dwelling with an approved conditional use permit. The applicant is working through the building permit process to purchase a modular home that will be placed on the subject property where the original home had been located. The applicant's sister, Katie Hudson, is also working through the building permit process to place the second modular on the property. Access to the subject property can be taken off of either 56th Street Northwest, which is County Road 6, or 145th Avenue Northwest, which is County Road 1.
I guess I'm a little confused already because there's two buildings there now, two houses.
There's only one home on the property, and it was moved off prior to me visiting this prop. Oh. Okay. Well, that could be just because of this permitting process. We do allow them to continue on with the building process because of winter, of course, in our short building time. So we do allow them to do that with the conditional they cannot move in or be in the homes until this is approved.
All right, I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any comments? I understand the township recommendation was for approval. Any comments? If not, I'll close the hearing. Board members?
I just have one question on septic system. Is it going to run off of one or separate? They're going to be separate?
I would have to look at the building permits to see. Oh, perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comments.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Can we have a roll call vote?
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Sherelle.
Yes.
Okay, so this next one we have is Evan Vettel with Cherry Creek Water LLC on behalf of Roger Baker. This is LU-0068-24. They're requesting a conditional use permit to construct a booster pumping station within the agricultural zoning district. This is located in the southeast, except the state highway of Section 31, Township 155 North, Range 96 West, which is Farmvale Township. We did not receive any comment back from them. I did reach back out and had heard nothing. They are requesting the conditional use permit to construct and operate a freshwater booster pump station in the agricultural zoning district. The project site will consist of a 32 by 28 building that will house dual 350 horsepower 6x6 split case pumps powered by 3-phase electric. The building will be equipped with a control system that will be monitored and administered remotely. Traffic to and from the site will be minimal, with just periodic stops to check on the site and for maintenance. Main purpose of this pumping station is to pump water to the Hauge Pond via pipeline, which in turn will be utilized for the oil well production and development in the area. The water will be acquired from multiple surface and groundwater permits already secured by Cherry Creek Water. Access to the subject property will be taken off of 111th Avenue Northwest, which is also known as County Road 17A.
Michelle, did they say if they're gonna use surface pipe or if they're burying pipe for it, or did they say what they're using it for?
I do not recall them saying if it was surface pipe. They can answer.
Hi, Matt Odegaard with Cherry Creek Water. The discharge is actually a pipeline from this booster station up to the holding pond that we previously approved on the first item. It'll all be underground. So there may be some other gathering sources of lay flat, but that'll be all permitted separately as well in the interim.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? If not, do we have a motion? I'm sorry. I thought I did. We will close the public hearing.
Make a motion to approve with staff comment.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Mark,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Sherrell.
Yes.
Okay, the next item we have tonight is LU-0071-24, which is Ed Rintamaki on behalf of the city of Williston. They're requesting a zone change to urban residential for a proposed approximately 1.61 acre parcel. The property is currently within the agricultural zoning district. This is currently known as MS 19-0018, located in Section 31, Township 154 North, Range 101 West, which is Williston Township. The township has no issues with this project. The applicant is working through the re-subdivision process, which will create 2 lots. Parent property is approximately 22 acres and is within that agricultural zoning district. The newly created lots will be approximately 19.11 acres and 1.61 acres. The larger 19.11 acre parcel houses a water treatment plant and will remain in that agricultural zoning district, while the applicant is requesting the zone change to urban residential for the proposed 1.61 acre parcel that has a single-family residence currently on it. The purpose of this subdivision is to separate the home from the water treatment plant. Access to both of the newly created parcels is through private drives taken off of Broken Horn Trail. The re-subdivision is currently going through the review process with the appropriate county departments, and recordation of the Mylar will be contingent on the approval of the zone change. The lots will be known as MS 24-0043 and MS 24-0044.
I'll open the public hearing. Are there any comments?
Ed Grintamaki with 49th Latitude Land Survey. I'm here on behalf of the city of Williston, but Dave Juma with the city is also in attendance, so if you have any questions, he'd probably be best prepared to answer any questions you have, so.
How'd you come up with all the goofy corners, Ed?
That wasn't me. I'm just retracing.
Any other comments? If not, I'll close the hearing. Board members?
Make a motion to approve with staff comments.
One second.
Motion and second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Sherrell.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one we have is LU-0073-24, which is GoGo Technologies. They're requesting a conditional use permit to construct and operate a cryptocurrency data mining facility within the agricultural zoning district. The current owner of the land is Steve Mortensen. However, GoGo Technologies does have a purchase agreement for a proposed 10-acre lot in the area. This is located within the east half of Section 12, Township 153 North, Range 103 West, which is Hardscrabble Township. Hardscrabble Township did not submit formal comment on this particular project, as they felt they have already conveyed their thoughts previously with the variance that has been brought before the board and will be heard again tonight. They do feel with the property remaining in the agricultural zoning district, many of their concerns had been met. For the data center itself, they would like no exterior floodlighting. There will be weed control around the exterior of the site, no trash on site, and the roads to be maintained by the company. They would also like that any noise issues with neighbors could arise be addressed promptly. So the applicant of GoGo Technologies are requesting the conditional use permit to construct and operate a cryptocurrency data mining facility on a proposed 10-acre parcel, while the site location for the actual center will be approximately 1 acre. The site will consist of 8 40-foot modular containers that will house the mining equipment. There will be an additional container located on the far end of the facility that will be utilized for storage. 3 transformers will also be located on the site, which will run the mining equipment, as well as a main disconnect. The site will be fully fenced and secured. According to the applicant, the site will have 24/7 security, which will be provided by a local vendor. They do anticipate 3 technicians supervising the facility using a combination of on-site and remote supervision. The applicant has a signed power agreement with Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative to receive up to 8 megawatts of power for the facility and is considered an interruptible load. Access to the site is through a private road that branches off of 147th Avenue Northwest. From the private road, the site will be set 91 feet off the road with an access drive to the fenced area. Subject property is currently going through the minor subdivision and variance process. Approval of the conditional use permit will be contingent on the recordation of the plat and approval of the variance.
I will open the public hearing. Do we have comments? Please come to the mic and give your name.
My name is Lynn Russell, and I own land in 10, 11, and 13. And my cousin and I, who has a lot of land in 12, almost all of it except what Steve has, We rent our land out to a farmer, a rancher from Montana. And I want to know how this is going to affect them. Is there going to be noise that's going to scare them? Is there anything be draining around there because there's water? I want to know who's going to answer these questions. And my homestead, my house, is 1 mile south.
Okay, I believe, do we have someone from the company here that can answer some of these questions?
They're on the phone.
Hello, everyone.
They're on the
This
phone?
is,
Okay. Yes, my question is, what kind of noise is going to be there? What's it going to generate? What kind of interference with our cattle? Not my cattle, but the cattle that we're renting all of our pastures to. And we have contracts with that. So we'd like to know what's going to happen.
Well, in terms of noise, hopefully you can all hear me. But in terms of noise, this is an 8 megawatt facility, so it's a very tiny facility. That's one. And then for noise, the noise generated from these containers will be like a humming noise. But obviously it's not comparable to anything like a big mining facility like Atlas. There is noise generated, but in terms of how it impacts animals, we have not seen any negative impact on animals. We have seen other farms in other states that do have animals nearby, and they don't seem to mind that. So we don't think it's going to have any negative impact on that. And then in terms of water, we don't use any water at this facility.
can't hear
It's all
anything he's
air
saying.
cooled. I'm sorry, what?
We're having trouble understanding you. The phone isn't very clear.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying that, so we have been mining operating mining farms for some time now, and we have seen farms out there in other states that do have cattle nearby, and we never have seen them to have any trouble with that in terms of cattle. Also, this farm is very, very small. It's just 8 megawatts. There will be noise generated from the farm, but in terms of how much, it's going to be very minimal compared to something like Atlas. So we don't see any negativity that will be towards cattle. So they should be fine just roaming around and, not having any issues in that case. And then as for the water, so we are not going to be using any water at this location. So
There's no water.
yeah, we're not going to be using any. It's all done with just air cooling. So when our employees come in, they just bring like water bottles or whatever they need with themselves. But there's no water there.
There's water draining all the way through that land.
Well, you mean,
Oh, you're talking about?
you're talking about the natural drainage.
Right. And we're at the
Oh.
end of it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, natural drainage.
They will have to go in front of the Williams County Water Resource District to get approval through the water board as well. So any of those drainage concerns will be brought up and recorded through them.
All that land that we're renting out is all pasture. So it's pretty important to her because she comes from Montana.
Right. And your concern is if by constructing this, it's going to change the drainage. Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
And it's going to affect the noise.
Yeah, there will be some noise.
Yeah. Cows don't like noise.
And do we know what the decibel level would be on an 8 megawatt farm?
There's in the staff packet, part of the requirements to apply, Cameronheimer Development Services, sorry. Part of the requirements to apply is to provide a sound study. So your packet there has a study with estimated distances and what the anticipated sound levels are.
Thank you.
Okay?
And in regard to your question about the effect on cattle, of course, I'm not an expert on this. I don't know of any research that's been done on this. So that's a good question. I don't think anyone knows if it's going to affect cattle.
Well, there's dams up there too. So,
I don't know that it would affect the dams.
it's all runoff coming to the dams.
But this,
It's all
this is
runoff.
a 1 acre spot.
1 acre?
Yeah, 1
I
acre.
thought it was 10.
There's 10 acres, but the actual construction is only 1 acre.
Okay, we'll see.
It looks like the highest decibels, 90, right up at the facility. 1,000 feet out is 56 to 60.
Steve? Steve, do you want to give your name and your comments?
Yeah, Steve Martinson, owner of the land. Why we kind of picked this location is, you know, it's where it's located at. And I can visit with Lynn more on this, but where we're looking at putting that, there is gonna be no runoff water running to the west. The drainage that's gonna be sitting in this location is to the east, which is on my property. And I've talked to the firm here about, I would like to build this 1 acre down into the ground so that it kind of has like 7 or 8 foot sidewalls around it. And then I'm asking them that, you know, if we could look at putting trees in the 10 acre spot around the 1 acre to help with the noise. And I mean, this is nowhere the size of Atlas, and it can be never any bigger than it is right now because there's only 8 megawatts available on that power line that comes back there. And like I said, with the restrictions that it's a hard spot for them to find this. And I mean, my thoughts yet about putting these type of projects is that, you know, it brings a higher property valuation to the area, which in turn comes to the county and townships, you know, versus just straight pasture land. And it's not like we're developing the whole works. It's 1 acre in a 10 acre parcel. And I mean, it's not gonna affect my cows. I mean, I've had cows by the railroad tracks and the horn goes by and they just, you know, continue grazing. So I don't feel there's gonna be any ill effects from this, and hopefully, you know, it doesn't bother anybody where we're putting it, because yes, Lynn does have pasture there, and then I know Tara, who runs the cattle there, and I haven't visited her with it, but I didn't, you know, I didn't think that there would be a concern, but I can sure visit with them, and, you know, but I think these guys, like I said, it's not near the size of Atlas, and it can never be any bigger than what it is. And I'm asking to have it dug down in the ground with trees planted where, you know, trees will absorb some of that sound down the road.
No,
Any
Thank
questions?
you.
I do have a question. I know in the past we've talked with the oil industry and other people in the industries that if it were to ever come to like a brownout situation or, you know, blackout situations, do they shut down before we shut the power? The power would not be sufficient to supply the residences, right? So that they would be the first ones shut off in case of a issue with not enough energy or not enough electricity.
Barry, if I read the power agreement correctly, this one is considered interruptible, which in my reading of it, it sounded like they would be the first to be shut off if something like that came and they needed the power elsewhere.
I also had a conversation with
Well,
Montrose Williams, and they did confirm that's correct.
Okay, well, I mean, as long as they understand the people come first, right? The industry is secondary, people are first.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments? If not, I'll close the hearing. Board members?
Well, I guess we've been at this for what, 3 months? We had regulations, we redid regulations. These guys have done everything we've asked them to, so I only think we can make a motion to approve it with staff comment.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
James,
No.
George,
No.
Mark,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Sherelle.
Yes. Motion carried.
Okay, so the final one we have tonight is old business, and it's one we've heard a couple times. This is LU-0043-24, which is the Steve Mortensen who is requesting the variance for this 10-acre parcel to remain in the agricultural zoning district. Parcel is within the east half of Section 12, Township 153 North, Range 103 West, which is Hardscrabble Township. As stated previously, they are recommending approval on this one now. Just kind of background and update for everybody. This item was originally heard by Planning and Zoning Commission at the July 18th, 2024 meeting as a zone change to heavy industrial zoning district. At that time, Hardscrabble Township recommended denial as they felt this was spot zoning. This commission also felt this would be spot zoning, and we're concerned with what would happen if the data center were to dissolve and no longer exist. At that meeting, it was decided to table until our September meeting in hopes that the conditional use permit for the data center could be heard at the same time. GoGo Technologies were not able to meet the deadline for that September meeting and for the CUP to be heard. At the August 15th, 2024 meeting, Cameron Heimer with the Development Services did present an amendment to the Williams County zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations that would allow data centers to be a conditional use within the agricultural zoning district. This amendment was then approved by the Williams County Board of Commissioners August 20th, 2024. Once the amendment took place, I contacted Steve Mortensen and we decided to continue with this item as a variance for the parcel to remain in the agricultural zoning district rather than the zone change to heavy industrial. With this change, our office sent out updated township packets, resident notices, and updated the newspaper publication. With this change, Hardscrabble Township then recommended approval for the variance since it alleviated their concern with spot zoning. We presented this item again last month at September 19th Planning and Zoning meeting, which at that meeting it was also decided to table this so we could hear it at the same time as a conditional use permit for GoGo Technologies. The applicant will be doing the minor subdivision and creating 2 lots. Parent property is within that agricultural zoning district. The lots will be approximately 311.53 acres and 10 acres. Access, just like the previous item, will be taken off of private access road that branches off of 147th Avenue Northwest. And the lots will be known as MS 24-0030 and MS 24-0031. The minor subdivision has gone through the review process and has been approved for Mylar, contingent on the approval of this variance.
And we need to do a public hearing on this, I assume. I will open this for a public hearing. And do we have any comments? Hearing no comments, I'll close the hearing. Board members?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comment.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Sherelle.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Sounds like that's all our business for today, so we can have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
You guys are so good. Meeting adjourned.